Mail on Sunday, and Karl Brophy here as well. Or Karl Deeter, sorry. Karl, I'm actually going to start with you with that story from the Irish Independent about the family who've written off this €150,000 debt deal. How did that come about?
Well, it's pretty interesting, the fact that it actually made news, because typically when you see debt deals done like this, they come with a non-disclosure agreement. So we've seen deals like this in the past, but then you're not allowed to talk about it. So the fact that AIB haven't come out and retracted this, I think is part of a PR exercise to say, come and deal with us, we'll do good deals. In terms of the metrics of it, the people owed 400,000, the property was in negative equity, and they couldn't pay. They've gotten over 153,000 written off and 40 grand parked in a warehouse, which is a combined benefit of close to 200,000, and then they have 200,000 that they have to pay off over the life of the loan. It's both working people. An interesting part of the whole story is that arrears really aren't a story of unemployment. In many ways, it's a story of the working poor, because with income tax increases and rising costs, 75% of households with arrears have no unemployed adult in them. And in a way, it's almost like the state has taken their mortgage payment through increased taxes and costs and then blamed the banks for this situation. But it's a good story, it's a good win. I think that there's probably, say, the 100,000 people on the housing list that are wondering where their 150 grand is, and there's a lot of people that would be very angry because they're facing the same increased taxes and costs and they're not getting these kind of deals. But it comes down to the moral question. Do you keep people in their home at a very high cost, or do you give them a write-down on condition that they only move out? And really, there's no right or wrong answer. What it really boils down to is what your preferred preference is of a social outcome and how it should be orchestrated. So I remain on the fence on this one.
And was there any explanation as to why they came up with this deal for these people?
No.
No details.
And we don't know, for instance, if they were on a tracker rate and now they're on a standard variable. So there's a lot of details still missing. So it's difficult to really get a true view of what is underneath this with the details that we got so far. But I think Charlie Weston and the Indo did a good job on it with what he could get out of the people who provided the information.
Okay. Enda, we'll look at maybe the political fallout from what we were talking about there with John a few minutes ago about the Garda whistleblower story. What's your read on that?
Well, I mean, I think the Irish Daily Mail's headline summed it up. I mean, it is an extraordinary blow for Alan Chatter, I think. Less than a year ago, he was saying that, mimicking almost word for word the findings by an internal Garda inquiry into this by an assistant commissioner, that the wiping of points allegations cannot be substantiated to any degree. Both of them use the exact same language. However, now we have a new independent report which finds exactly the opposite. And I think this story has really caught people's imagination, because it goes to the heart of that kind of nod and a wink culture that's lived in Ireland for decades. And good political reform and good reform of any significant organisation like the Gardaí is absolutely vital. And here we've had again and again issues that have raised that the Minister seems content with internal investigations by the Gardaí into allegations about malpractice within the Gardaí. It was the same with other investigations that were done into allegations by the whistleblowers, which we have yet to find out about because barristers have been appointed to look at those. But this is the first instance where we've seen the Minister had come out, backed entirely the findings by the Gardaí investigating themselves, said, nothing to see here, this is totally fine. And here we have exactly the opposite finding. And his statement last night, I mean, it's odd that someone like the Minister will comment before the report comes out, even though it's been leaked. Usually we're fobbed off when we're told, oh no, wait till the full report comes out, but saying it was a major administrative dysfunction and a failure of management before the report actually came out. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it is extraordinarily significant. And if you imagine the scale of what's been going on, every single inspector, superintendent and chief superintendent in the force have had powers to quash points, not only in their own district, but we have seen in other districts where they shouldn't have done so. So this is something that's endemic. It's a part of the culture of the police force. And obviously, every community will know somebody who's on the GAA team or somebody whose child is taught by somebody else who says, look, would you mind? And this is what we get.
This is it, and we'll watch for the full report now later in the day today. Karl, go back to you. The swimming pool story, actually, it broke around lunchtime yesterday out in Maynooth. There was a major operation with a lot of ambulances at the scene.
Yeah, it's from leaks of reports to chemical leaks, apparently. And I'm familiar with this pool. I used to be on the Maynooth water polo team. And the accolade of the university back then, because our water polo team was deplorable, we lost everything, was that we had the oldest running public pool. And I think that perhaps it's time to upgrade some of that infrastructure if this is the kind of thing that can happen on the
it hasn't changed in all those years?
Well, in the pictures, it shows
not to infer it's all that long time ago.
It's about 150 years old, I think. Well, the pictures that they showed in the paper had it show the building, and it's the same building, so I don't know what's inside there. I was familiar with that part of the campus because there was the snooker hall and the pool joined to each other. But the chemical leak apparently happened. They don't know what the chemical was, but it was during maintenance, and whatever the chemical was got into the air system. It affected a lot of children. 6 kids were hospitalized. They still don't know what the chemical was. Having said that, they're not saying that it's some kind of life-threatening thing. So it was probably as much of a precaution as anything else.
But it was enough to warrant the evacuation of 25 children and 6 of them going to hospital.
Certainly a scary end to a swimming lesson.
Yeah, absolutely. The other story you have there, Enda, the weather, always a topical point. Weather with a difference. We have 2 nice images here of the GPO, March 11th last year, March 11th this year.
What a difference a year can make is the headline, yes. I mean,
you probably can't see it, but there's a lot of snow in that bottom picture.
Yeah, I think
was
it
that
was
a year ago?
-4 it was that day with snow. Today we have a balmy 14 degrees and people wearing sunglasses. So roll on the sunshine, I say.
It's amazing. But the days are starting really, really cold, and then suddenly the sky goes blue, the sun comes out, and it's been gorgeous. So, yeah, let's hope. We've escaped the snow, really, so far this year, haven't we? I suppose we got the floods instead.
We have an optimistic turn on it there, Anthony.
Well, it is in the middle of March. I think summer's here. Enda Kenny's righting a wrong about the torpedo inventor. What's that story about?
This is a kind of a quirky story. There was an inventor. He was born in Mayo named Louis Brennan. And he invented the steered torpedo back in the 1800s. Yeah. And he sold the patent to the British War Office for 100,000 sterling, which would be a king's ransom. It was huge money. And then when he died, he ended up in this unmarked grave. And so for the last 80 years, there's been no tombstone. So they had a ceremony to give him a proper resting place. And it's kind of funny because Irish people have had a lot of connection to sort of Navy and military, apart from having a lot of pirates in our past. You know, one of the co-founders of the Argentinian Navy was from Ireland. I think we had something to do with the invention of the submarine. Actually, I don't know if maybe I'm mixing up with that Kerryman joke about a sunroof and a submarine, but I'll double-check that one. I retract it.
No, but we do have a naval history that has spread around the world, really, haven't we?
Absolutely, yeah. and it has spread our people around the world. And this guy, you know, what a story to have invented something like that, made huge wealth, had something like 38 different patents, was a prolific inventor, and then to just have this humble, unmarked grave. So Enda Kenny put that to right, and I have to say, fair play to him. You know, we should be cherishing people like that in Irish history and some of the good success stories that we have from our past.
This is in St Mary's Cemetery in London, and they opened up they erected a monument to him over the grave, mentioning his family. Very good. That's the Taoiseach on a trip to London this week, actually, and the UK. All right, we're going to leave it there. Karl and Enda, thank you both very much indeed for coming in today.
Thank you.